Get down. Get down, get down, get down, get down, everybody rise up.
It's MC Tingbudong, 你干嘛呢? I'm originally an artist from Washington, D.C., based in Harlem. I'm a multimedia artist, bilingual rapper who raps in English and Mandarin Chinese. My work is about bringing forward a whole new internationalist world and way of being where it's not weird for a black dude to rap in Chinese. I started studying Chinese in high school. I've been a lifelong fan of hip hop. I was a study abroad student. I got invited to participate in doing a documentary on the hip hop scene there for a show called Sexy Beijing and an episode called Bling Bling in Beijing. And so this was like the first introduction for a lot of Westerners to like hip hop, the homegrown hip hop scene that was in China.
So Sufei called me up and I said, of course, I come all the way from Washington, D.C., Chocolate City, just to come check out Beijing and see if the hip hop is really real or really not so real.
The year after that, I applied for a Fulbright grant to really develop this study of hip hop in Beijing and really embedded myself with a network of like rappers, DJs, graffiti writers, skaters over the course of a year. And I found a lot of solace within the hip hop community there. You know, we belong to like a culture. We go out and go breakdancing together. We go out and go rap together. You know, they're challenging me, I'm challenging them. They're saying like, you know, stop rapping in English. We know you can rap in English, so rap in Chinese, what's up? Plus we can't understand it. There was a real community around that. And it was, you know, Section 6 Hip Hop Cypher, 2006, 2007. You have a bunch of folks like Nasty Ray, DJ Wordy, Insang, a lot of these kind of denizens of the old hip hop scene. And I was there as a student. I jump up on stage, I have a shirt that says Tingbudong that I got like from some tourist trap in Guilin, and I start rapping in English and Chinese. And there, folks, audience members start shouting out like, MC Tingbudong, 他 T 恤上就说他听不懂，但是他真的能听懂，跳起来. And from there, like that's really where the moniker MC Tingbudong came from. The mask I actually got in Dali as part of Foundtown China when I was performing as an artist, MC Tingbudong, and that really came from kind of being like walking through Disneyland, but the main attraction, and so grabbed a mask and started to rap and perform in that. That fish out of water, that would be the experience when you get to China. You're a foreigner, but then you're also like a black person, and you have people like, 你真的是美国人吗？美国人不是那么黑的，当然不是那么黑的。Americans aren't that dark. You see this pervasiveness of stereotypes that's there, both negative and positive. Like I haven't been stopped and frisked in China, but I have been walking down the street and a Chinese person turns around and they go like, oh, and it's like, the are you scared about? Like, I'm like, why is it shocking to you? Or what I would even get from some of my like homies in the hip hop scene was like, oh, why aren't you? Aren't you like from the hood? Like, why aren't you more like gangster? Those are the major distinctions where it wasn't the same kind of look over your shoulder fear. There was those instances of like people like genuinely wondering, people who were functioning from that but limited from their framework because of just the pervasiveness of white supremacy and stereotypes. But it's not like you won't find the same conventions and notions in any country in the world. When you look at like the historical connections between Black America and China, with like Paul Robeson, introducing Chi Lai to audiences in Harlem. And raising money for the like Chinese Workers' Party, and Mao sharing a correspondence with civil rights leaders and delegations from Black America to China, right? To kind of build this bridge. And I think a lot of it really does come down to like recognizing this shared history and working together to actually create a vision of the future, kind of what I was describing, like what would actually a revolutionary vision of the future in art and culture look like? That was, inclusive, that was internationalist, That's really what I see the role of these like 88 Rising and Rap of China, what they could actually do right now is actually present a whole different vision of what like Chinese rap, Asian hip hop looks like, feels like, could be, can be about. And that's the role that I see myself in.
We face is a game of death. Don't matter if you black, white, or yellow. Need everyone to fight back. No second row spectator sporting.
Hey kids, feel like life is too boring? Sick of quarantine but have to deal with the world filled with coronavirus, racism, and no future? Try Viral, a brand new adventure from MC Tingbudong. Explore 6 new musical worlds that take you on adventures from China through Black America at a time of global pandemic and protest. Travel through time and space and discover hidden connections between cultures. Dive into all new virtual reality and mobile game experiences as you fight the power and fight for a future. Skateboard through Chinatown, wander through the internet, and lead demonstrations in real life, all from the comfort of your own home. Play the new game that's going viral, but be careful, results may be contagious. Viral, game and VR headsets sold separately. Prolonged gameplay may result in fever dreams, rapping in Chinese, scientific thinking, and joining the movement to overthrow capitalism and fight for natural communist evolution.
Shouting?
I'm realizing as I'm getting older, used to worry about yesterday. We need to worry about tomorrow. Gone too hard for all the stories. Remember in the day we used to play out in the open. Long nights into early mornings. Used to say come over, now they worry about corona. It's feeling kinda viral. Find me on the cloud, bet I know where I can find you. Some of y'all still in denial. The world don't quarantine, so I know and feel how I do. 行，全世界也中了病毒，看起来很自然，其实有制度的因素。 别人听着物质财富，全世界在建议想出门而不敢出，不要出门，不要出门。终于出来的时候，我们应该出门。
不要出门，不要出门。好久没收到阳光，玩到天狼没事儿。The world on lockdown, so listen up on stereo. You find me in the cloud, avoiding corona, going viral 都只是一个情况，一辈子我们没有经过，是这一个制度，我们真的需要拜托。说中国病毒并不负责的美国。太注意利益而不注意人的生活。Schools closing, kids go hungry or get sick. Asian Americans assaulted, calling this a Chinese virus. Fascist America, handmaids, high castles of ICE agents, plenty of gas masks for Gestapo, with no more respirators. 说实话，那我懂了不这么的意义。We all in this together， 我们都在一起。不要出门。不要出门，终于出来的时候，我们应该去哪儿？不要出门，不要出门，好久没收到阳光，玩到天狼没事儿。It's feeling kind of viral. Find me on the cloud bed. I know where I can find you. Late nights into early mornings. Used to say come over, now we worry about corona. 行 ，OK， 你们在这儿吗？在这儿吗？有感觉吗？有感觉吗 ？OK。See some people in the chat at tingbudong.nyc. I want to invite everybody to take a trip both to the virtual world at tingbudong.nyc and to join us for a bit of conversation about the origins and connections between Black America and China. I'm going to get one more going before we jump into our discussion. This one is called Ain't How. That last one was called Viral and was produced by Eddie Liu.
You really don't understand. Hey man, it's realize when for us to make this thing work, man, we got to get rid of the temps and the pushes and prosecutors and that's not all over again.
Wait, hold up, wait, hold up. Time is moving too fast, it won't slow up. Time we came for the world that you owe us. Say, 小邓，哎。小邓，学真装了，超快不能停着，我们把未来送你拿走了。哎 ，Hold up, wait, hold up. They will try to divide and control us. Ain't been the same since that Rona. Wait, hold up, wait, hold up. They will try to divide and control us. Ain't been the same since holding that Rona. Wondering, wondering, wondering. Wishima, 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 wishima. In the age of apocalypse. Jujuma, Runa, Wakanshima, Kanshima. Dealing with two pandemics. Woman be shoot under a long me do yo. Whatever we do, woman, journal, you shoot for them. Chong way, yo. We just keep it moving. We 一直走在黑影，只能通过。感觉到走到迷路的时候，不知道在哪里发错。This ain't how it's supposed to go. Ain't how it's supposed to go. No, no. Time to go hit the streets. Time to get out the door. No, no. Nowhere to go. Hospital beds on overload. Bodies piled up from coast to coast. Gone in a snap, no cap Thanos. We done lost our patience. Zoom past 100K racing. We're reaching our limit. I got two pandemics in America. Racism is still a contagion. In the age of apocalypse, they try to get a pop ticket. Ain't no stopping them. Armed up, Nazi storms, big capital lobbies, rather save the economy than black and brown bodies, man. Big Floyd said I can't breathe. I'm on that gun down for jogging. 300 killers walk free, so it's past the PPE. Time to hit the streets and got no other options. 到底应该不是这样。真的应该不是这样，有理养中国病毒歧视，都是因为少数民族歧视。It ain't gotta be this way, so I'm gonna find my way. It's a whole new word that we're wrapped. The borderless language and gender don't matter. 到底应该不是这样， 真的应该不是这样。我们了解这个情况，这个病毒没有这么复杂。It ain't gotta be this way. So I'm gonna find my way. The fire that lit precincts in Minnesota inspired the world. Now it's time we take over. Wondering. 为什么in the age of apocalypse 是什么无能我干什么 Dealing with 2 pandemics 我们必须反对浪中必读 Yo whatever we do 我们只能继续奋斗成为之必 Yo we just keep it moving we 一直走在黑影只能通过感觉到走到迷路的时候不知道在哪里发错 This ain't how it's supposed to go Ain't how it's supposed to go No Time to go hit the streets Time to get out the door, yo. Wait, hold up. Time is moving too fast, it won't slow up. Time we came for the world that you owe us. Ay, 小档，学着转了场，快不能停着。我们把未来送给那头了。Wait, hold up. They will try to divide and control us. Ain't been the same since Floyd and that Rona. Cause I know, they will try to divide and control us. Ain't been the same since Lord and Arona. There's one part of that lyric that says, 我们了解这个情况，这个病毒没有这么复杂. That says, we understand this circumstance that's going on, but this system ain't more complicated than this virus. Let's come together to work together to overthrow this system and using science just like we can use it to defeat this virus. Welcome to Viral in Age of Pandemic and Protest. I am your host, MC Tingbudong. And we're taking you on an adventure through these 6 musical tracks and on a conversation between Black America and China. 说到底这就是一个对话。一方面是中国，另外一方面是黑美国，真的是一种对话，但是是从未来都来了的一种对话。This is a conversation, but it's really from the perspective of the future. All right, next up, we have coming up a little bit of music video screenings from Viral from this project to take you into this world. And then we're going to hear from Jason Chu and Bohan Phoenix in conversation around the cultural connections between Black America and China. Check it out.
Tired of quarantine? Try Viral a new adventure from MC Tingbudong. 简易腻了吗？尝试 Viral 一个全新的虚拟现实冒险，从 MC 听不懂。
行 Yeah, I'm realizing as I'm getting older, used to worry about yesterday, we need to worry about tomorrow. Grew to over all the stories. Remember in the day we used to play out in the open. Long nights into early mornings. Used to say come over, now we worry about corona. It's feeling kinda viral. Find me on the cloud, bet I know where I can find you. Some of y'all still in denial. The world on quarantine, so I know you feel how I do. 行，全世界也中了病毒，看起来很自然，其实有制度的因素。别人凭着物质财富，全世界在建议想出门不敢出。不要出门，不要出门，终于出来的时候，我们应该出哪儿？不要出门，不要出门，好久没收到阳光，玩到天冷没事儿。 The world on lockdown, so listen up on stereo. You find me in the cloud, avoiding corona, going viral though. 只是一个情况，一辈子我们没有经过，是指一个制度，我们真的需要拜托。说中国病毒并不负责的美国，太注意领悟而不注意人的生活。Schools close and kids go hungry or get sick. Asian Americans assaulted, calling this a Chinese virus. Fascist America, handmade Thai castles and ICE agents. Plenty of gas masks for Gestapo, with no more respirators. 说实话，那我懂了不出门的意义。We all in this together， 我们都在一起。We are true Mar，We are true Mar。终于出来的时候，我们应该去哪儿 ？We are true Mar，We are true Mar。好久没收到阳光，玩到天亮没事儿。It's feeling kind of viral. Find me on the cloud, bet I know where I can find you. Late nights into early mornings. Used to say come over, now we worry about corona.
According to the New York Times, the movement is being led by young, charismatic leaders in the city who are drawing large crowds and taking on the establishment. Jamel Mims is one of those activists. He's also an organizer of the group Refuse Fascism. Welcome, Jamel. Great to have you with us.
Thanks so much for having me. This is a situation where everyone is coming really to terms with how white supremacy is systemic, how it's woven into the very fabric of this system, and how it can't be reformed. People are waking up to the need to actually drive this white supremacist, fascist head of state that's in the White House out of office, you know, and the fact that this entire system needs to be overthrown.
Wait, hold up, wait. Hold up, time is moving too fast, let it slow up. Time we came for the world that you owe us. Ay, 小灯，ay， 小灯，时间转了太快，不能停着。我们把未来从你拿走了。ay， 小灯，ay， 小灯，他们认为我们都是朋克，我们知道是世界的规则。Wait, hold up, wait.Hold up, they will try to divide and control us. Ain't been the same since Gordon that Rona. Wondering,为什么 in the age of apocalypse? Search Maruna, 我干什么 Dealing with two pandemics. 我们必须反对两种病毒有 Whatever we do, 我们只能继续愤怒成为进步有 We just keep it moving, we 一直走在黑影，只能通过感觉到走到迷路的时候，不知道在哪里发作。This ain't how it's supposed to go, ain't how it's supposed to go. No. Time to go hit the streets, time to get out the door. Nowhere to go, hospital beds on overload. Bodies piled up from coast to coast. Gone in a snap, no cap, Thanos. We done lost our patience. Zoom past 100K racing. We're reaching our limit, not got two pandemics in America. Racism still a contagion. In the age of apocalypse, they trying to get it poppin', think it ain't no stopping them. Armed up Nazi storms, the Capitol lobbies rather save the economy than black and brown bodies, man. Big Floyd said I can't breathe. I'm armed up, gunned up for jogging. Brianna's killers walk free, so it's past the PPE. Time to hit the streets, ain't got no other options. 到底应该不是这样，真的应该不是这样。有理两种个病毒气势，都是因为少数民族气势。It ain't gotta be this way, so I'm gonna find my way. It's a whole new world that we're after. Border, race, language, and gender don't matter. 真的应该不是这样，到底应该不是这样。我们了解这个情况，这个病毒没有制度复杂。It ain't gotta be this way, so I'm gonna find my way. The fire that lit precincts in Minnesota inspired the world. Now it's time we take over. Wondering,为什么 in the age of apocalypse? Search Maruna, 我干什么 Dealing with two pandemics. 我们必须反对两种病毒有 Whatever we do, 我们只能继续愤怒成为进步有 We just keep it moving, we 一直走在黑影，只能通过感觉到走到迷路的时候，不知道在哪里发作。This ain't how it's supposed to go, ain't how it's supposed to go. Time to go hit the streets. Time to get out the door. Wait, hold up, wait, hold up. Time is moving too fast, it won't slow up. Time we came for the world that you owe us. Say, 小灯，哎。小灯，时间转了太快，不能停着。我们把未来从你拿走了。Wait, hold up, wait, hold up. They will try to divide and control us. Ain't been the same since Gordon that Rona. Cause I know, ooh, ooh.
4, 3, 2, 1. Oh, you get.
Yeah, no, man. I keep it real simple. I just do like fried eggs, make rice, make pasta, sauces. I just got some fly by Jing. You know, I'm gonna cook me some Kraft mac and cheese and toss in some fly by Jing.
Yeah, this session brought to you by Fly by Jing and Kraft mac and cheese.
Gang.
You know, coming out the gate. Definitely want to welcome you all to Viral, a Virtual World. I got my homies, Jason Chu and Bohan Phoenix, tapping in live from the metaverse, live from cyberspace right here.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We're bringing it to you live and direct. But here, you know, we've had a bunch of discussions around the cultural connections between Black America and China. And we wanted to share some of that and bring some of that into the space, right? Not just do this in an abstract way, but talk about, like, you know, these are folks who are making music that concerns this, making music, you know, that concerns Asian American identity, making music in the, you know, Black cultural tradition, making music that concerns, you know, people needing to be better human beings in the future of humanity. And so I'm honored to bring these folks up to the stage as part of this series. And so we're going to do a couple rounds of discussion for this, and we'll start just really with like an introduction. I think, you know, the artist could give no better introduction than they could give it themselves, and talk about like what you're working on, you know, and then kind of how is it in this conversation around the cultural connections between Black America and China, and, you know, kind of give us an overlay. But maybe we can start off with you, Jason, and then we'll jump over to Bohan.
Yeah, for sure. What's up, everybody in the metaverse tapping in through these digital, you know, prophecies that you're seeing. My name is Jason Chu. I'm a Chinese American hip hop artist and activist. I live in Los Angeles, California, very proudly based on the left coast. But I grew up actually in New England and Delaware and Connecticut. So yeah, I mean, I've been working, and the dope thing is that I know all my family here, we all been working over this pandemic, you know, as this situation continues to evolve, that don't stop the work. And by work, I don't, you know, I mean art, I mean creation. I also mean pushing the consciousness forward, you know, pushing our vision and our self-knowledge and our understanding of the world around us up. And so that's really what I'm working on these days, man. I've been, some friends and I, including, you know, Jamel's on the project. A lot of our friends were involved in this project. Face Value came out this last May, an album about Asian American history. And then right now I've just been writing demos. I've just been trying to capture sounds and vibes and emotions that are going through my life. And I think towards maybe third quarter next year, we're trying to put out some new projects. But right now I'm just enjoying being in community with and knowing and growing with folks such as yourselves.
Fire.
Hey, yeah, so I guess Bohan, you wanna you wanna go in? You wanna intro? Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, Jamel, Tingbudong, Jason, what's up?
Hey.
My name is Bohan Phoenix, and I'm a Chinese American hip hop artist, and I'm based out of New York, Brooklyn, and I'm from China. I moved here, and yeah, I go back and forth a lot, making music, figuring out, as Jamel says, really how to best be a person today, you know, beyond just making music and, you know, having fun with the music shit. I do think we're entering a time where if we don't start paying attention to exactly how we treat each other, how we say things, how we do things, could end up at a really weird place. We're already kind of getting there, you know?
Yeah, facts.
Yeah.
Shit is definitely weird, bro.
Definitely weird, you know, and not in a good way, like the metaverse weird, you know, like so. And that's the thing. It's like, anyway, so that's why a lot of things I'm excited about this conversation, man. That's all.
Yo, man, I'm not even about to stop you. I was about to say when you say
no,
anyway,
I was
like,
gonna go right into it, but I think it's all good.
Nah, man, go for it. It's like, look,
Well,
you know.
Yeah. All right, I'll just finish my train of thoughts. Like,
Yeah, man.
especially when we're entering like the metaverse or like a realm where we're probably gonna have less in-person and physical interactions in many ways. And you know, one of the things that I fuck with y'all is the reason I fuck with y'all is because y'all are just compassionate and real ass people. Y'all about your business. You do what you do. And you do what you do best, and you just kind of like, you know, try to take care of one another. Like every time I see you there, y'all love, you know, try to have a good time, be respectful. And I think it's so important as we enter this metaverse or enter a time where there's less than human interactions for us to kind of like, drill that in people's heads. Because people, you know what I mean? I feel like people get upset when you talk about kindness and compassion too much. They're like, bro, like what? Like, well, we know, you know, like, but it's like, but we don't, you know, like we really don't. So yeah.
Yeah,
no.
I actually, I
Go for it.
love that. I actually kind of want to jump off of that, man, because
let's get it.
One thing, you know, like I said, I identify as an activist. I'm very much, you know, I know Jamel identifies as a leftist. You know, I know we really trying to push things in the direction of progress. But I do think that, you know, especially for those of us who deal a lot with justice issues and marginalization and trauma, it can become really easy to actually become a dickhead. You know what I'm saying? It can be really easy for us to be like, oh, yo, like, you know, the country's done this to us and that to us. So when I see like a white person on the street, or when I like interact with somebody that I see as privileged, I'm just going to be a complete asshole because I think that, you know, man, this is justice, or this is getting back my equity. And I think fighting for humanity.
When we act like this, you know,
exactly,
like that.
right?
Yeah. But then it's like, go ahead.
No, man, I think you're pointing to exactly the point, man. It's not this thing of, if we're just playing this game of replacing the faces in the same system of oppression, of just like, oh, I'm going to give to you what you've been giving to me or to my people for so long. Well, what does that actually turn you into? You know, you know, how are you opening, you know, the revolutionary? So I identify as a revolutionary communist, you know, and the revolutionary leader, Baba Vakian, says, you know, will say to people, why are you opening up your mouth and letting this system speak for you? You know, when you speak like that. Right. And I think that's the kind of way we got to actually approach people. And I think that is something that I've learned actually a lot from both of you about how you actually approach kindness and compassion, but like with a firm hand, but like, or I guess a gentle touch, but a firm hand. You know, you actually have to, we actually have to rupture and break people out of a certain framework, right? That is just like rooted in an individualism. But I think, you know, this is so much why I wanted to have this conversation with you guys, man. And part of like why, you know, I think a lot of folks don't understand so much of the substantive, both conversations and things you're actually both trying to bring to the music and to the culture around this, and the, you know, the thoughts that inform that space, but that are urgently called for by the times that we're in right now, you know. And I think the work that you guys are doing, both like really specifically, you know, speak to that. You know, they're folks, they were being humble in their intros beforehand. You know, it's like Bohan Phoenix is, just recently signed by Warner Music. You know, Jason Chu is just talking to me about his like 17-hour flight pattern where he just got off of, you know, just came off a stage. You know, this is someone whose music is licensed in HBO. You know, folks are out here, just so you know, for everybody here. You know, no humble bragging allowed here, right here. All right. But I just wanted to get some of those formalities out of the way for everybody before we continue to dive back in on this question of, as people were going into like the history
around this, right? You know, a question that I had for you guys was like, because I noticed this in the course of your work over the past year too, the past couple of years, but this period of pandemic and protest in particular of your work very sharply speaking to, you know, to issues of right now, right? To, you know, to the issues of xenophobia, to issues of Black Lives Matter, to issues of Stop Asian Hate. You could talk some about, can you talk some about how like the pandemic and protests have defined some of that work, like, you know, and speaking to it right now, and like some of the history that you've had to dig up, you know, as a result of that.
Yeah, I'll go first. I mean, so you know, I'm not gonna like try and like make sure I say everything politically correct, because then I'm not gonna be able to say what I'm gonna say. But yeah, like I, you know, kind of got into hip hop like through like, you know, understanding that as a way of expression and relating to the different stories that these artists would tell, and through these stories, you know, I find similarities of emotions, of struggles, happiness, sadness, and all that. You know, I connected with hip hop music on like a very narrative and story-driven way that, you know, it really made me feel close to Black people in the Black community, even though I grow up around them, but like I hear in the music the emotions way clearer, you know, and then any interaction I have with a white America or whatever it ever was, you know. So to me, I have always thought like, oh, like I understand Black people in a way that some of my peers don't, because I'm so into hip hop. I'm paying attention. I'm learning about the culture, the people, paying respect and homage. But you know, it wasn't until last year at the top of the pandemic, it wasn't until last year during you know, the time when George Floyd was murdered, that I realized my my like passive like thinking of like, oh yeah, like I'm hip, like I have Black friends, I fucking did this music shit starting out of a gospel choir, like I know I'm doing the right thing. I realized at that moment I wasn't, you know, I wasn't doing enough. Not wasn't doing right, I wasn't doing enough. And you know, it would then, you know, and I came to that, what that led to was more education about everything, and you know, going out, joining the protests and all that, and trying to really feel the pain and feel the emotions that surrounding what's happening. But at the same time, I was trying to make music about it, but then I couldn't separate self-promotion and the message that I wanted to put out in music, because no matter what, you're still kind of self-promoting. Like, hey, check out my song about, you know, what's happening, you know, versus like, so I ended up putting out a song with Empire. It's called Unconditional, and it's, you know, and then I put out a song called But I Still Love You. And one of them was dedicated towards like the cause of BLM. One of it was dedicated towards the Stop Asian Hate. And yeah, and it was really like two of the only like songs that I've released the last 2 years, because it felt funny for me to try to address anything that felt so real with just the music, and I'd be like, check out my new song, blah, blah, where I talk about this. Where it feels way realer to kind of look around and the people in my life be like, damn, like I've been neglecting so-and-so. I haven't treated so-and-so with respect. I haven't cared about so-and-so as much as I should have. So that's kind of where I'm at. Oh yeah, there we go. So yeah, so this is the song that I put out that, you know, every stream and view is perpetually donating to hate is a virus. And, you know, I really thought this shit was going to get playlisted and shit, but it didn't, you know. And it's funny, I put out some random stuff and like the algorithm will playlist it. And then like you put out something that's dope that, like, you know, that like actually has a cause and people don't like. And that's the thing with the social media and just the metaverse shit I was talking about. You know, we don't have to get into that, but like, it's like, you know, you post a selfie of your face going like, you know, and people are like, oh, love, like, comment, blah, blah. But then you're like, man, I've spent all this time thinking and putting together this piece of fucking thing. I want to share. It's emotional. It's important to me. People like, oh, word, you know, like fire emoji, move on. You know, they don't even check it, nothing, you know. But
they're like, yo, fire beat. Oh, the beat is
exactly.
awesome.
Well, if they even make it into that, to make it to that part, you know, I feel like a lot of the times now when people see your shit pop up, I'm guilty of this too. That like people either, you know, you see someone shit pop up, you give them a like, you give them a comment, you feel like you already checked out the thing. You feel like, you know, like half the time you're like, I did my part, you know, like, and social media has trained you to kind of like interact minimally like that, you know. But yeah, so that's what I do. I mean, like my music is pretty narrative and pretty revolved around like just the things that I'm feeling, and yeah, I'm happy to, you know, to even be here talking with y'all about this.
Yeah, y'all, let's let this rock for a second, just so y'all can hear some of this.
Then why we scared to heal each other? Yeah. I know I look nothing like you, but I hope that you still love me. I do. Yeah. I know you look nothing like me, but I still got love for you. I do.
Yo, can you pause this real quick?
For sure.
Yo, so one thing about this song, hey, Jamal, hey,
totally
right
unplanned,
there.
I swear.
Leave it right there, leave it right there. No, but like one thing, you know, about the song, I thought about it was the people that, you know, the message of the song, like, even though I don't look like you, I hope you still love me. I put this song out because, okay, well, the people that I actually want to reach with this song, like, it's never going to reach them and to change their mind. You know what I'm saying?
Well, who are the people? Talk about it.
Well, like, okay, these will be, if this is speaking to people that, you know, this is my song, you know, asking for humanity, asking for people who hate us based on how we look or how we're different, to recognize the humanity in us. But then it's like, if some motherfucker is liable to go down the street and kick a grandma in the face, he's not gonna listen to the song and be like, you right. You know what I mean?
I've been changed.
Yeah, you know, so it's like, even as I release songs like this, where like my peers are like, you know, be like, oh, cool, like, good for you, blah, blah, like, is it actually doing the work that it's pretending to be doing? Or it's like, it's like me, you know what I'm saying? Like, is it something more, if there's something more tangible to be done? Obviously, like, you know, yeah.
Now, this is a super important question. I definitely have thoughts. I'm going to pass it to Jason. Get in on this.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'll just, jump right off from what you were saying, Bohan, that like, I think, and combine that with, because I know, Jamel, the question, right, was like, over pandemic, over the last 18, 21 months, how's that spoken to us, right? And I think, I mean, the one thing is, I think is actually just affirmed a lot of the things that I've learned from mentors, you know, mentors, whether academic or activist mentors, have always been like, yo, you know, this is the struggle, and it's the solidarity, and it's present, and it's important. This isn't just like, you know, an idea. Racism or, you know, self-determination isn't just like an idea that's floating out there, an ideology. It's something that like actually really impacts us every day. And, you know, certain Asian American communities will bear more of the brunt than that. You know, in 2008, it was actually the Obama administration that started deporting Southeast Asians back to Southeast Asia, right? And for me, like as a Chinese dude, you know, like I wasn't really aware of that. Or even if I heard of it, maybe I wasn't like, oh, you know, that's my issue. I could just be like, oh, that's weird that that's happening, right?
Yeah.
And then I think what the last couple of years have done is they've started bringing forward this like consciousness of solidarity, to where like, you know what I'm saying? Like Vicharatana Bhakti, right? Who was tragically, you know, murdered, you know, in the Bay Area. I've never seen like a ton of East Asians really care about any Thai American shit. You know, I've never seen like you know, different like East, Southeast, South Asian people all being like, yo, you know, we gotta be there for each other until like right now, you know, and that's because of my lifetime, you know, like I only really saw a certain era of Asian American history, but now it feels like there is this more this spirit, you know, I mean, you know, it's a very hip hop thing, you know, pressure makes diamonds. And I'm not saying that the pressure is good. I'm not saying like, yo, it's awesome that this terrible things is happening. But I think what it does is it's pushing all of us to learn more about each other. You know, like I've learned more about like Pacific Islander issues in the last 12 months than I did in the 12 years before, you know, or especially I was just talking with my friend Zeta Zhang. So she's the first Asian American woman to be signed to WWE wrestling. She's a pro wrestler.
I met her. She the Taiwanese wrestler.
Yeah, so Zeta's like my homegirl. We was just in Florida together.
Where? Is she Taiwanese?
Yeah, so I was just, she is. Her family's in Taiwan right now.
Yeah. Okay, where? Nice. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was just talking to her about how, you know, it's so interesting that right now it feels, I actually personally would not say things are worse. I would say things are clearer. You dig what I'm saying? I think like, you know, 5 years ago, it was like people aren't really talking about this. People don't really, you know, like, so a ton of people may have been racist against Asians, but you just didn't know because they didn't have like an opportunity to show it. Flip side of that is there might be a ton of people who like are down to support, but there just wasn't any visual, obvious, tangible movement for them to like step into solidarity. And I think the last couple of years, it's just helped clarify sort of where people are at. You know, you can hate each other, you can love each other, but it's going to be more clearer now. And I think the same thing for a lot of our Asian American folks who, you know, see Black Lives Matter, see this sort of resurgence in you know, all of the terrible things that have happened over the last year and a half. And it forces us to clarify and to be a little more explicit about what we really believe and what we stand for. You know what I'm saying? And those who believe in it and stand for it have opportunities to get more education, have opportunities to tangibly show up. And those who don't have, you know, opportunities to do what they want to do. That's kind of what I've been seeing over the last couple of years, Jamel.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree that the battle lines are drawn, and I would say, you know, I mean, yeah, I would say that stuff is worse now and it's clear, you know, but it, you know, there's a flip side to it, right? There's like, it's sharper now. The divisions are sharper now. It's more intense now, but that does actually clarify things. And, you know, I think what we saw last year, there is a lot of potential in what we saw last year, you know?
Yeah.
And that actually like, you know, and people actually moving, you know, on that tip. Super dope. And then just circling back to what you were saying, I think actually, Bohan, like your music and that song in particular, it does speak to, you know, because the thing that I noticed too, where there are a lot of people who in this period were kind of sitting on their hands, right? Or being led to take up the wrong kind of like, you know, we're being led by the wrong kind of leadership, being led like to go take up some of this like China virus bullshit, right? Some of this like, oh, it came from Wuhan, or like being led down this like conspiratorial thinking, like all this bullshit, right? And I think your music actually speaks to some of the folks who should be out of that, right? Some of the folks who you know, who actually don't look like you, you know, but actually should be led to like be one to actually fight alongside you, you know. And so because I agree with you, you know, if you're talking about like that song, the Cal Rittenhouse, it's not going to mean it. It's not going to mean shit.
Right. Exactly.
Right? Yeah. But that's, you know, but I think that your music, you know, I don't, you know, forgive me, you know, for the crudeness, but I don't think your music is speaking towards those folks anyway.
Yeah. Right. I have to think about it, and it's like, all right, the song is for us. It's to heal. It's for us. But you know, I mean, it does have that like kind of like bullshitness to it, you know, like with this, you know, like it's like I can't help but feel like, and again, like we are musicians and this is what we do, right? Like you know, like there's nothing speaks louder than us using what we do. But it's like, and this is, I think I'm getting further away from like the topic of this discussion. But like, I'll be thinking about going to pick up plastics on beaches. I'll be thinking about like, what can I do that I can actually help somebody or help something, you know what I mean? Instead of just like be out here like speaking some symbols and concepts and like grand ideas, and then like smoke weed and like watch like The Wire afterwards. You know what I mean? It's like,
yo, The Wire is dope. You learn a lot about reality.
The Wire's amazing.
I just started watching it. I've never seen it before. I'm watching it.
Bro, that's a classic.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Must watch.
But you know what I'm saying? It doesn't feel. Yeah. Like there was something about being out in the protests and walking around.
Tired of quarantine? Try viral new adventure from MC Tingbudong. 简易腻了吗？尝试 viral 一个全新的虚拟现实冒险，从 MC 听不懂。
哎，欢迎你来，欢迎你来。你刚才是听着 Bohan Phoenix 和 Jason Chu 在一个对话。Yes. Gotta give it up to the homies Bohan and Jason for getting into this really spirited conversation. Like, man, starts to really go deep about what does it mean to be an artist in this time? What does music actually have the potential to change people or not? Right? Especially those who are out actually coming for our lives and coming for our necks. Some real questions coming up here. And I'm excited to bring on, got a couple of my homies who are coming up here. We got Eddie and Kayla.
Yo.
Let's see, are we live and direct? Can you guys hear me?
Hello. Can you guys hear us?
Yeah, all right. It's looking like it's sounding good. Awesome. So I wanted to bring Kayla and Eddie here to join our conversation around the cultural connections between Black America and China. These are just a quick introduction to artists and collaborators who are also on the project Viral, responsible for the sound and Weixing you are here. Yeah. Eddie is a beat maker and producer who is, from California by way of Taiwan or from Taiwan by way of California, depending on which way you're looking. And Kayla is a multi-instrumentalist, director, photographer, and like VR cinematographer. And they're both incredible people, incredible creatives and collaborators. We met together on a program called Found Sound China, and have been homies ever since. And a lot of that program was about taking a culture like hip hop, which is seen traditionally as like a Black and brown culture rooted in, and born in places like the Bronx, and looking at how you can use that to communicate and create community in places like China and like in rural China with the Nongmin and, Hanzi. So I wanted to bring you guys up to talk about the experience, talk about our experience, making Weixing you were here, and the kind of impact that, of the culture of Black America and China have had on you and your work.
Let's jump in. Where should we start? Maybe we could set the scene of how it all began.
Yeah, why don't we talk about how it all began? Go for it.
Well, so I think this was in 2018 or 2019.
2018, like when we all met.
Yeah.
It was 2018.
Or we're starting way back in China.
I guess so. Is that what we're doing?
Yeah. So we all met in 2018 in July of 2018, and I met Jamel. We were in an airport in Chongqing, I believe.
Yeah.
And one of the scariest flights of my life, but we made it. And then that was when we first met. We ate some really delicious food in the airport, and we traveled through the night to Lijiang Studio. So it was quite a surprise because we were in this car with Jay, who's amazing, and we couldn't see anything outside. And the next morning, we woke up to this incredible landscape of farmland in Lijiang, and it was just such an inspiring place to be at. And we all connected first as a group on Weixin, which is WeChat. So that was the first digital world that we synced up on, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah. So yeah, we were all part of a program together called Found Sound China. That's by an organization called Found Sound Nation that uses music making as a way to connect people across cultural divides and from different countries. And the program that we did was the first time that they worked in China. So it was really like breaking new ground for this kind of cultural exchange experience. So it was just really, really dope, like learning about, what you do, Jamel, and also what Kayla does in regards to cultural exchange and trying to like reconcile all these different places that we come from and these different identities that we have. And I don't know. Yeah, we just like, I remember the first night or the second night we were there, we were like up all night talking about all these issues, and it's just never stopped ever since. So I'm so grateful, yeah, for, both of you guys and your, all the conversations we had and all the creating.
Oh yeah, man. BB Sheen, the feeling is mutual. I mean, it's crazy how much music was just like a door, but then into all these deeper questions, right? About like what's going on in the world, right? About what are you making music? What are we making art for? What kind of world do we want to be in? But I wanted to get a bit, follow up on some of the, questions and just let people know a little bit more about who you all are and that what you all bring. And so, you started to talk, Eddie, some about how you're like reconciling those different cultures and those different identities. And each of you have like, I see in each of you like the people of the world, like a real internationalist, global upbringing, and perspective. I wonder if you could speak some towards like, those different kinds of cultures you find yourselves enmeshed in and, or the different cultures of your upbringing. And if you could speak some to that and how that's like in your work.
Yeah. So for me, I'm Taiwanese American. And my parents are Taiwanese, but they are from China. They came from the generation after the Chinese Civil War, when the Nationalist Army fought with the communists and the nationalists retreated to Taiwan. And my parents were part of that. So there's a whole conflict there between China and Taiwan that's also kind of defined my whole life. I also lived in China for a bit growing up in middle school and high school. So I kind of had that dual consciousness, identity awareness early on. Plus, I was also raised in the States, on and off, and then have been working and living here for the last 10 plus years. So that's all part of like the different cultures that I'm from. But I've been, I think the world kind of like there's increasingly more and more people like this. So it's not like, it's super unique anymore that people have these experiences. A lot of people travel, they go to new places, are able to settle down and experience new things. And I've been interested in like that kind of cultural exchange though, from an early age. Like even with my personal experiences aside, I'm like, this is one of the biggest issues of our time. Like how to reconcile different cultures. Like we never before have we been so like crowded into the same spaces and so interconnected. So I was like, this is definitely being overlooked. I can't think of anything that's like a real concerted effort, especially to involve youth in this. who are kind of like a lot of the creators of the culture, you know, and the people that are really engaged in it. So yeah, that's like, you know, as far as where I'm coming from and my interests and my background. And you know, after I went to New York City, after I met Jamel, it was all just like, you know, I've been really blessed to be able to work with the young people and, you know, to be a part of these projects that allow me to meet people like you guys and like learn about these topics. So yeah.
Yeah, I could add that I'm also a descendant of migrants from China to Taiwan. So I'm part of a family with that legacy where there's simultaneously, you know, a narrative of being oppressor and oppressed. When you think of Waishanren who come to Taiwan in the hopes of in the future returning to China, but no longer finding themselves with home. And when I think of, you know, just how, so this is my grandmother who left China to Taiwan during that time let's see, I believe her family left from China to Taiwan in the 50s. Simultaneously, my grandfather was in Semarang in central Java, and he, being Dutch Indonesian, after the occupation by Japan and you know, Indonesia declaring its independence, his family chose to have allegiance to the Netherlands. They moved from Indonesia to Holland, and so there's simultaneously, you know, these two kind of migrant communities who find themselves in these situations where they have to conjure the courage to create home when they're in between both, not fully accepted in their countries, but neither are they, you know, by these colonial powers. So I think that's really there is a lot of those pains and traumas and that I've been just really recently learning about. So I think that informs my perspective on just how poignant it is for a people to kind of be thrown around by history. Also learning how my grandfather, you know, moved to the States through the Naturalization Act. So where the United States is primarily seeking, you know, talent to fulfill technical roles. So many, you know, Asian communities coming to the United States via that. So him making a living in the scientific field, but also never being permitted to actually exert himself as a leader. And I've seen the consequences, very explicitly depression, wondering if he made anything of if his life counted for anything, his work being exploited and not being documented. He made a lot of scientific contributions. So I've just, you know, been having talks with him to document. I love documentation. I love having conversations, recording everything. Even if I might not know all the significance now, I know that I could look back onto this in the future. That being said, my mother is a Chinese American, American generation. She grew up not wanting to speak Chinese. Chinese and English were simultaneously her native languages. But I mean, growing up in Orange County, it was very racist there. And so she doesn't like to speak Chinese with me, but she still like makes fun of my accent, which I think is a good thing. My dad was a urban living indigenous person, which many people might not know that native people, suburban living native people make up the largest population in the United States. So much of our idea of who Native, Indigenous, First Nations people are, the conversations tend to center on the reservation. However, there's huge and amazing Indigenous communities in Oakland, in Los Angeles, everywhere. And so, you know, I've being a person of many mixed cultural backgrounds, I've really had to take a lot of time to meditate on the thought of specifically what does being Indigenous mean to me. And I think what being Indigenous means to me is embracing all of who I am. And, Indigenous people come from so many different backgrounds, look so many different ways. We are, from the Métis to the Inuk to descendants of the Cherokee freedmen. We are people who cannot be quantified by our blood. And so these are all kind of just things that I've been meditating on and have, grounded myself in. To be honest, like I grew up with some of these things, but I've really arrived at some of my own sentiments on what it means to be Indigenous as well. And when it comes to, in my work now, what I'm, creating, writing about, it's really centered around futurisms. So I see myself as learning and expressing Asian futurisms, Afro-Indigenous and Indigenous futurisms, which is just the radical act of having the courage to imagine a future in which we're all thriving, which is such a radical act. So I'm inspired by Assata Shakur, I'm inspired by Octavia Butler, I'm inspired by so many different artists and revolutionaries who have really comforted my soul, but also just taught me so much about just what it means to be a human being who's striving to create a better world. So that's a little bit about me.
Yeah, wow, man. I just every time it's like always just so amazing both catching up and then also just learning so much about your history and then what you actually bring through that, you know. I see both of you all, you're walking through your histories, but then you're also really not really defined by, you know, the specific geographies of your parents or your lineage, right? And you really have a mind and a heart for the people of the world, as artists. And so I wanted to talk even more specifically and technically about your specific art forms. And then even, I'm definitely going to shout out some accolades. That's how you pronounce that word, right? Accolades. Why that sound weird to me right now? Accolades. Why you ain't acting right with your accolades? But like, so Eddie here is the, is a bomb, and not just an incredible beat maker and producer, right? You'll hear he's got the bangers on this EP, y'all. But he's also an awesome break dancer, right? He be doing like, multimedia art, coding, breakdancing, all in one immersive experience. We got a chance to preview some of that where we were together in China. And he also was like the visionary and program director behind the whole program that like brought all of us together. Right. And so, I wanted you to speak some about that and some of, your music and beat making and let people know what you're up to and what you're on now. And then Kayla, similarly, just humble brag. Kayla was a TED fellowship. If y'all know TED, welcome to my TED talk. Kayla was a TED fellow, one of the, youngest TED fellows to ever like exist. Right. And does astounding work in narrative storytelling, in virtual reality. Industry leaders look to her. So if you could speak some, to that, about like you started to give us a little bit of a preview of some documentary stuff you're working on, but if there are any projects that are coming up that we should look out for around that. Yeah, but that was the next round.
Word. You want to go first on this one?
Sure. Yeah. Thank you so much for shouting me out, shouting us out. That actually, it's awesome because I definitely recently I've been thinking more of how to really discovering and finding who I am and who I want to be. And I think finding yourself is not just, a journey seeking and searching, but also in creating yourself. So I've been meditating on what that means to me. Aside from my interests in filmmaking, I've been working as a film composer. So one of the most recent projects that I had the honor of composing is called Dear Georgina. You can find it online. It's about a Pascomadi elder from Maine who is reconciling her traumas and finding, finding out the significance of her heritage, after being faced with the trauma of being forcibly relocated as a child. This was during the era of the Indian Child Welfare Act. And this project was produced by the Upstander Project, which sheds light on many issues of genocide facing global indigenous communities around the world. So, Georgina is just, this project actually came to me in a time where, I was thinking about a lot of finding home and what home means to me. And so it was just a really beautiful honor to be a part of this project and learn. As a film composer, I get to, give a small offering to each project and learn so much from the worlds of these people and issues. So I really recommend that everyone go see Dear Georgina. And it's a small part of a larger project called Dawnland, which is actually nominated for an Emmy, and for both outstanding music and journalism. So just to have a film about, the issues that Indigenous people face that aren't talked about. Usually the conversation stops at, boarding schools, but we don't talk about how the effects of genocide have carried on to, the era of the Indian Child Welfare Act and even till today. So I'm really proud to have worked on that. So that's one project I'm happy to share.
Nice.
No, that sounds awesome. Georgina.
Yes, Dear Georgina.
Dear Georgina.
Yes.
Dope. Eddie, what you cooking up?
Yeah, so I for the last kind of during the pandemic, I would say I haven't really been putting out any creative material. But like Kayla and I and me and a couple of friends over here have been really like just practicing a lot of music and dance, just trying to maintain. And I kind of relate to that with a lot of creative friends right now. Like it is a moment, for some people to like really, really sit with their craft and think about the direction that they want to go with it. And that's kind of, the phase that I'm in with the creative work. But yeah, like you said, I'm a breaker, a break dancer, a b-boy, whatever you want to call it, music producer and DJ. And I, like it's ironic that I grew up with those things. I grew up in Taiwan, but it's also not ironic because it's the story of this whole generation. So, having that culture shock, but also later on finding that I wasn't alone at all, that there was like so many other people that grew up with that experience. That was a defining experience for me. And then realizing that, these people don't actually have a lot of, political or economic leverage to represent their own experiences. And, this, like I said before, like this group of people is only getting bigger. Multiculturalism is a part of our future. And it's like, how do we tell multicultural stories? Like something that Kayla and I talk about a lot is like, we have a very low resolution view of cultures and like diversity in America. And that might not be it might not be that everything's wrong or that it's negative. It's just kind of low res, it's like, you don't appreciate all the fine differences between, what everyone brings to this country and just like to our communities. So yeah, that all of my arts and like my practices like help me kind of gain awareness of that through like speaking those languages with different people, negotiating, learning, it is really, and it, sometimes it is like, even though I'm coming from a place where it's like not the birthplace of hip hop, I am an outsider and all of this, I still consider it a privilege, you know, to be in these spaces because I learned so much, and it's like this really raw conversation that happens. You know, I have been told that I'm an outsider, and I have been told that I'm doing it the wrong way, or you know, but what happens is that then you have a conversation about it with people, and they're like, all right, what we're really trying to say is that, you know, it comes from somewhere, and you got to understand that, you know. So, but some people never get to have those conversations about culture.
Yeah.
That's alive, you know, and has stakes in people's lives. You know, it's not just a museum or like some performance on stage. It's like people live and breathe this, you know. People make a living off of it too, like, and that's what I've really been focused on the past year, is thinking about, like, you know, I'm doing a lot of consulting work with different organizations that I kind of expanded outside the arts too, but I'm definitely interested in just like creativity as a kind of a way for us to solve social issues. I think like the world is increasingly going in a direction where we need creative skills, and that it's going to be a part of our future in work and society. Like, and so I really see it as going hand in hand. Like, I want to empower people economically, but also like encourage people to pursue their creative ideas and their visions. I think it's like interwoven. And yeah, just really been thinking this last year about artist empowerment, what that means, you know, the different ways that we can professionalize what we do, but also like keep the authenticity and the rawness of it. You know, there's really, really a lot in that space that we could think about. And the more that we connect in the way that we do, and Jamel as a facilitator, you know, the way that you connect people, that's what it's all about. It's like creating these conversations with, you know, we're all like nodes. And right now it's like this whole network is decentralized, you know, and that's how we want it. Like our generation is very anti-institutional. But in order to have this decentralized system, we all do have another responsibility and accountability to each other.
Yeah.
Because it's no longer just like, all right, we'll just be accountable to the system. Because if we want something else, then we really have to be accountable to each other. So I'm, you know, really trying to figure out what that looks like artist to artist accountability, conversations between artist organizations and partnerships, you know, yeah, and it's you know, it's a lot of like it's a lot of non-creative work, to be honest, and learning about like economics and like, you know, the space of like social services and nonprofits and stuff. But yeah, it's also been really fulfilling because I think it's you know, it's meaningful, and there's a future in those ideas. And I know that, you know, Jamel, you've been working on similar things, and that we're on the same page about that.
Oh, so, yeah, man.
Kind of what I've been up to.
It's funny that you said there's like not creative work. I feel like a lot of creative work, when you get really technical, like when you're like really making a song and you're like behind the boards, it's just like listening to it over and over and over and over again and taking out tiny little tweaks until it gets really, really technical. But like many creative tasks beyond a certain threshold become just super, super technical. And so that's exactly where I wanted to go with it in this next one, to talk a bit about that process. And in particular, you know, we could tell some of the story of wishing you were here, you know, how, where the beat came from, where the song came from, how did it end up looking the way it looked. But if you could speak some to that.
So I love this song so much. So I think what this song means to me is like, it's like an ode to the virtual universe in which we all met together. So what I think is really cool about the sonic soundscape that you created was that it references the ringtone of WeChat, which I think is so imprinted on my brain with good things, because we like call each other, we contact each other all through this medium. So I think that all these digital platforms of communication have their very distinct sonic landscapes. So whether it's like this is a bit past my generation, but like the AOL room
Yeah.
had its
Come on now.
sounds and dingling.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so AIM. Did you
Uh-huh.
have AIM?
Yeah.
You
Of
did?
course.
Yeah, I was out here moving it. You know, everybody put your AIM name in. Throw your AIM name in there.
Whoa, that is so. Yes, very classic. I for one chatted with a lot of friends on massive multiplayer online games such as
Yeah.
Maple Story and such things. But yeah, this is how it started. It started with our love for the sounds on these apps, but it really started with a dumpling party. That was how Wishing You Were Here came to be. So, you know, good food and good music. We watched Bao for inspiration as well by Domi Shi, who is happens to be the first female director of a Pixar short, and it's this beautiful tale of a mother who doesn't have a child, who doesn't have a son, and she makes a bao, and this bao comes to life, and she's nurturing and raising this bao through all of its stages of life, and then she's coming to the time where she needs to let the bao go, and it's just a heart-wrenching story. So we were all crying.
So good.
Yeah, it was great.
We made dumplings like shaped like pastelitos, shaped like baos. We made all the dumplings. So with good food comes good music. And I mean, do you want to talk about the production? Both of us talk about lyrics and stuff.
Yeah. So, like, yeah, you know, the sample was the WeChat ringtone, you know, and I think the lyrics came about, well, you know, because after our program, we were like all, you know, spread out, and all of us were trying to keep in touch with WeChat as well, and then realizing like, wow. And I think even outside of our experience with Found Sound China, that this has been a theme. It's just like nowadays we connect with so many awesome, incredible people digitally, and we have a digital community. So like I think it's that longing for community, but then you're also finding connection through a digital media. So it's almost this like oxymoron where you're like finding a connection through something that's virtual. And I think we were just like exploring that idea of like finding something real in like really, really real in the virtual world. And we also watched we were watching some other cool videos. I think you showed us something like an AR video, like a movie that you know about the future of AR.
I think Joel, I think you put that on.
Oh yeah,
it was like a hyper reality video or something.
Yeah, it was that one.
Yeah, it was like done in like first person.
Yeah.
Or something, and had a bunch of overlays, I think.
Yeah.
Every single surface is a digital ad space.
Yeah.
Like a living nightmare.
No, it was crazy. It was mind blowing.
Yeah, I feel like it was like that, dumplings, and I think we were also watching Hackers, or had watched Hackers, or I don't know if it was that night or another.
The mix. It was a long
Hackers
night.
is in there somewhere.
Oh my gosh.
You know, the typing sound.
Oh my gosh.
But no, like really, I think this idea of like virtual love is like really, really, there's a lot to it. Because it's been played with in the past, you know, like in the 80s, like with the talk boxes and stuff.
Computer love.
Computer love.
Oh.
Yeah, like, but it's like, I think we're doing our iteration of that because it hasn't been done. Like, there's not, you know, is there like an Instagram, like, you know, song that's just about Instagram? You know, no.
Yeah.
Like, so we're like, let's do this because this platform means a lot to us. Like WeChat, you know, and if anyone doesn't have WeChat, you should just get it and just play with it. Even without friends or anything, there's a bunch of mini apps that you can access, like games and utility apps, and you know, it's a whole like universe. So yeah, I guess that was everything we were exploring.
You know, WeChat, what is that, Jack Ma? Coming for that sponsorship, you know, WeChat. First WeChat, then Pocari Sweat, you know, let's go.
Oh, the takeover.
The takeover. Yeah, yo, I think.
And then we filmed a video for it, which was actually Jamel's idea, which was really dope. I have never seen any video like that either. And then the fact that you execute it, we all, you know, that it just came together like.
Oh yeah, I mean that was all Kayla, the execution in terms of like how to figure out how to do it. There was an idea.
We first tried to rehearse it together by real time texting the lyrics in a WeChat group chat and then screen recording that. I don't think it really went well. Jamel, did you end up using any other tool to make that like the real chat bubbles happen, or?
Oh no, what we ended up doing is I feel like I remember you put it down to like halftime.
Oh yeah.
We like slowed the track and you know we had to like slow it down to halftime, which was still like a furious texting pace.
Yeah.
But we like slowed it to halftime and then we're able to like catch it there.
Yeah, I think halftime is like that point where it's still the song is still legible, like we can still understand the words that are being said, but it's like before it just degrades into noise. Yeah,
exactly. No, it was we got together, you know, fueled by the power of 100 dumplings. You know, Amaris was also there. Bad Buddy was in the building, barking off. You know, yeah. And so it was like a real family affair. A lot of love in the building. You know, it was a lot of love went into this song. Hey, boop, 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 boop. You know, a lot of love went into this song.
So much love.
Yeah, got rolled up in little dumplings, and then we shot it all that night, like completely that night. You know, and then you know, shot it, finished it, and we're like, okay, 6 a.m, the sun comes up, and we're like, wow, and then we like unfolded this little dumpling of a song.
We made dumplings, 100 dumplings. We ate it, then we made a song, and we watched like multiple award-winning video productions. And
then created one.
And we created a video.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Like that's
10-hour workday.
most productive I've ever been.
Oh my gosh, yes. I think it's cool because it's the first time we actually talked about the process, because everything just happened so organically. So I don't know. It was a beautiful memory.
You know, another song that felt like that was a very, very first song that we all made together, which is
Sleep Tight.
Tight. Yeah.
Oh, that we made some of that in the studio late night. But then you were also finishing it up on the train, I think.
Oh yeah. Mostly like in the Lee Jung studio.
Yeah, it was mainly that one session. You know, shout out U4, shout out Cha Cha, Yahan. I think there was I mean that was like you know, similar thing. It was like 4-6 hours, you know, Trayvon and Cha Cha going in on the beat and the vocals, and it's like, oh, you know, and then one after the other. Okay, let me get on that. Let me get on that. Let me get on that.
And then I fell asleep.
Yeah. I think there were like rounds of like, you know, people would doze off, come back, work on a session, come back to it. But it just, you know, so much of that beautiful process and such a, you know, I think of a testament to how through the lens of culture and having like a generosity of spirit and an open mind can lend to all this creativity, right? And in a way that actually speaks, you know, I think about these songs and I think about the music that you guys make, and they speak to like whole sections of people around the world, right? It isn't just for one kind of person. And so I think that's part of like, you know, not just the identities that you're walking through and walking with, but also the ideas that you have and then the heart that you put into it. And I see that like exhibited in the music you make and in the collaborations that we have. And I'm super fortunate to be able to call you guys friends and collaborators and have you up here, you know, making dumplings and making beats.
Hey.
Dumplings and bangers. You know what it is.
Hey.
Yeah. So we're going to give you guys a little preview of what we worked on up next. And we'll have a little screening of Wishing You Were Here.
Hey, let's do it.
Yeah. Okay. 谢谢 Eddie and Kayla.
Yeah. Peace out.
I call you late at night, hold you on my pillow tight, look into a deep blue haze and swipe our fears away. Virtual lover feels so blue, Wi-Fi make my dream come true, wishing I could feel you from far away. Virtual lover feelings all in my reality. Second life with you in me, virtual reality. Virtual lover feelings all in my reality. Second life with you in me, virtual reality. What you showing?
Away, yo, I don't know which way to go though, cause I'm running away, I'm just away, yo. Find me where the winners at, have you been there yet? Some people can't see the world, never seen the world for the internet. It's a cold, cold world, and it's not even winter yet, and I damn near spent part of my rent check, so let's take a chance. The world is virtual, cancel your plans, travel the globe in the palm of your hands. The future's amazing, fuck standing around and waiting, we already celebrating. 下一个好友在微信着，干嘛的干嘛的干嘛？看到我手机没收到你短信，他们叫我听不懂，但是我一直听懂的声音。再给我发了短信，从离我千里的城里，抽一下我性命，偶然发现我的心里是。Virtual lover feelings all in my reality. Second life with you in me, virtual reality. Virtual lover feelings all in my reality. Second life with you in me, virtual reality. What you showing?
Yeah. Like there was something about being out in the protests and walking around among the people. There was something so emotional and so strong about that I don't think, music can take you there. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah.
Yeah, let's actually talk some about.
I mean,
go for it.
Yeah, like I agree, but I also think, man, like we're making the soundtrack for the revolution also, and like the soundtrack ain't the movie, but also, a movie ain't shit without the soundtrack. And I remember I was in some history class in college, and they were talking about how shifts in public consciousness or shifts in culture are always accompanied by a generation of like artistic material, whether that's painting, whether that's music. You think about like, the civil rights era, or you think about, even like, Black Power. You think about, like even like, like in the LGBTQ community, like dance music. And like, I feel like we got to avoid the extremes of rhetoric here, where it's like, yo, my music is driving the revolution. Like this is, listen to this and you'll achieve consciousness. It's like, whoa, like let's calm down on that. But we also got to stay away from like, oh man, I'm just a musician, man. Like, I'm not really doing anything. I'm just making songs for you. It's like, dude, people need that. People need shit to like, like freaking athletes. Before they go on the court, they finna listen to something that gets them in the mindset. And I feel like it's the same thing for people who are out there moving the culture, moving the mission, whether that's lobbying. I just was talking to somebody on Instagram who was like, yo, man, I was feeling the weight of these things. And then I listened to this song, and I'm sure you get those messages. Both of you get those messages all the time. And I think like we can't underrate that also,
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, 100%. I think, I definitely agree with just the power of music is not to be underplayed, but I think I'm just speaking to more of like, it's like a personal frustration, like doesn't feel like, like in my mind, it's like, all right, it's like, am I doing enough in real life to balance out that desire, basically.
Yeah.
And that's obviously for a self question. So
Yeah, yo. I mean, look, this is a deep and important question for like artists, and especially artists that are in the times that we're in. Like, and I want to move this, we talked some about like the history and how like, this present engagement of dealing with this era of like pandemic and protests has driven us to like dig into the historical connections, right? To learn about like the civil rights movement in that era and the cultural connections that existed between then. One thing I learned during this period with like a program with Carl Dix, who is, a leader in the Revolutionary Communist Party. This is somebody who like refused to go to Vietnam and was put into like Leavenworth Penitentiary, and after he came out, went looking for the revolution and found it. And he, in a program with him, he was sharing about how Huey Newton actually was drafting Black Panthers or recruiting Black Panthers to fight in the Vietnam War, like, but on behalf of the Vietnamese, like against against the American Empire, and I think, I was like, wow, they're learning about like also in Vietnam, some of the there was that movie, The Five Bloods, that Spike Lee put out. I'll reserve my comments around the movie, etc. Besides the fact that Delroy Lindo is like the greatest actor of our generation. Enough for the character he played, whatever, but he's a great actor. The thing with that, there are these towns where there were Black people who, because they would go and fight in these wars and then come back home and be like hunted and marauded by racism, and would often find themselves like at more of a personal peace in the places that they were fighting against and they were actually at home.
Right.
Have these these Black towns that were in like Little Saigon in Vietnam.
Right.
And just thinking about, realizing that the work that I was doing is actually part of a tradition of things and spaces like that, but that's actually rooted in a specific political movement where people, the world looked different. It would seem like science fiction to us right now, right? But it was like a third of the world was under socialist rule. People were thinking about how they would live and work, and the relations between people a totally different way. And I just think the comments that you're saying, Jason, about like that music and that culture, and artists being a part of that, we shouldn't downplay that. Hell no. How do millions of people learn to think and move in the same way, in the same direction? Music, culture and art. And so there is a lot of power in that, but it does get, I also don't want to like dismiss what you're raising either, Bohan, because it does get daunting to figure out like, damn, how is this shit making a difference? How do I measure that? How do I know if this person's mind is changing? But, I want to take us a bit to the future, a little bit of that, and what we kind of like. Oh boy. Well, we can talk about it.
No, I'm playing now. I'm kidding. No, we don't need to go into that. We don't have that much time.
Non-fungible things. Non-fungible things.
Non-fungible things.
Non-fungible thing. Non-fungible.
No, but yeah, just a little bit in terms of like the future, in the sense of what do you think, what's going to be needed for us to get beyond this? What would you like to be doing, not just on a personal level, but how do we get beyond this, in line with some of the conversations and the ideas that you have? Let's talk about it. Let's get into some big ideas.
Well, okay, so it's like, I think I have a very privileged experiences. I have a very privileged but also sheltered perspective of what maybe a lot of Black Americans feel towards Asian Americans, because my experience has always been around context of music, context of getting along, and I think same thing with my experiences with my friends who are Asian and how they feel about the Black community. Most of my Asian homies are very open-minded and very get on with each person as they should, and but then I also see pockets of, whether it's comments online, for example, one of the things that triggered me to write this song was seeing Vilma Kari being kicked down in New York, that one in front of the hotel, and then the people like turned and closed the door on her. Seeing that, and then seeing like, you know, the guy, the perpetrator, the attacker was like, you know, he was mentally ill. He had killed his own mother, you know, like, but he happened to be dark skinned. I don't even know. I still don't know if he's even, you know, whether black or Indian or whatever, you know, like whatever. He's dark skinned. And in the comments are like, and in the comments, there's mad like Asian people being like, yo, what? We were showing up for Black Lives Matter and this is what they doing. So, you know, blah, blah, blah. No, I'm saying not all Asian. I'm saying like there's some. So, you know, that was like very like alarming to me. I was like, damn, I didn't know, you know, there were so many Asian people in the community that like felt this way. And then also like my friends would share, you know, my friend Shen, like she's this Black woman in Vegas, and she would share with me screenshots of like clubhouse rooms with like hundreds of people in it, and the title would be like, why we should never help the racist Chinese, you know, stuff like that. And I'm like, damn, I did not know, you know, like, and yeah, so how to move forward, man, I don't know. I think again, like we have to focus on real life interactions. I mean, okay, that's just where my mind is. I mean, there's so many things we got to do, right? Like for me, it's like, you know, when I'm interacting with somebody like that's, you know, not of my background, like I think it's important for people to know that like I see you and I feel and I hear you, and I want to share this space with you as respectfully, as lovingly as possible, you know, like to the maximum, you know, of our potentials. And yeah, like I don't know. It sounds really like doesn't sound like much, but yeah, like I just feel like in terms of just everyday interaction with every single person, whether it's interacting with somebody that a race of people that normally might not fuck with you, or interacting in front of someone that, you know, you can show people how to, you know what I'm saying? Just like personal one-on-one kindness, I think is still at the end of the day going to be the actual juice. You know, obviously like the concept is grander than that, but we do need each individual to show up and be responsible for mediating the thoughts and the emotions, you know.
Yeah, I agree so much with that. Like that, I think there is something about like in-person interactions, right? Because that's really the only time we're interacting with human beings. You know, other than that, it's kind of like, and you know, like things like this are so dope that we have technologies now that allow us to connect with people in these ways. But it's almost like, you know, it's a projection of me connecting with a projection of you. You know, versus like when you in person, like we got to be so careful, I think, as technology, you know, Tingbudong, you asking about the future. I think as technology improves, we got to be so careful to remember what humanity means. Right. And I think that humanity is our fully embodied present selves, you know, and technology can help us simulate that so that, you know, when I'm in LA and y'all are in New York, we're still able to meet and to keep the spark alive. And, you know, and certainly, you know, I've had friends, and I think like Bohan, like you and I actually met on a Zoom first, and then we met in person. Right. And so I'm not saying that it's useless, but I'm saying like, you know, there's something so crucial. Like, I feel like, you know, if we hadn't sat and chopped it up, or, you know, Jamel, if you and I hadn't met in person, you know, I'm gonna say it like this, like Jamel, if you and I met on like Facebook 10 years ago, we probably wouldn't have like kept in touch and kept tabs on one another for the last 10 years. But because we met at an international hip hop festival in person, and I crashed on your floor at the hotel and we rocked together. And then for the next 10 years, it wasn't like, oh, here's this person that's making content. Here's this content. It was like, oh yeah, there's this person that I know. And now I see his content for these 10 years, and then we reconnect. you know.
And because
yeah.
y'all met in person, there was no way to misunderstand each other's intentions. You know what I mean? Like, it was not like that Jamel saw you through the lens of the internet. It's like, oh, Jay, that seems cool, but man, I don't know. He could just like be trying to do this because like whatever, you know, like, like, you know, like there's no, and like, and like, you know, it's like as technology move forward, man, it's like, it becomes more and more about like, how do we, like, social media is such a competition. You got to stand out in the algorithm. You got to do all this. It's like the focus now for the young kids growing up should be on how to treat each other with more kindness and how to care about. But instead, the focus is gonna be, damn, how the fuck do I outdo? You know what I mean? It's like as we evolve so fast with technology and shit, like we're gonna like if we don't remember, like you said, like humanity, if we don't remember that shit, man, shit's gonna be out the door, bro. Like done. You know, like it's like it's scary to me, like straight up. Like before you know what I mean? I know we probably, but like this shit scares me.
Oh yeah.
You know, like,
well, there's definitely look, there's definitely a dark side to it, and you know, I think so much of it is because you can misconstrue intentions in person. So much of it is the fact that we live under a system that guides people to do these things, right? People aren't inherently driven to do that, but you know, they're driven, and especially in this context where you have these algorithms that have actually been unleashed, that the very people who've actually like developed and unleashed them, they're not entirely certain of all the things that they can do and how they're doing them. Right. And you know, but just
these tools are too powerful.
Yeah, they've designed kind of the goalposts and the ultimate directions, but you know, a lot of it is proliferating on its own at this point. And so there is absolutely a real danger in that. But because we live under a system that is where the rules of the system are dog eat dog, right? Where the system is expand or die, right? If I don't come grab your plate, then my plate will get grabbed, right? And it's like until we get rid of that system, then as individuals, the best that we can do is kind of like wading upstream, you know, in like a torrential, you know, flood, right? You know, the best we could do is kind of like stay dry every now and then while we're just like getting washed out by this downpour, you know. And so that's, you know, so it's not that those mutual interactions aren't important, i.e., as Jason was saying, don't be a dickhead, right? But, you know, but there is actually a system, right, that we actually have to confront. And I think that's part of what you're speaking to, what a lot of us were inspired by, and the potential that we saw and the beautiful uprising of last summer. And, you know, I'm excited, you know, about the future of like what art and culture is coming out of that, and what, you know, it's inspiring to see with some young people, some young artists, the issues that they're dealing with, this no holds bar approach that they're actually taking towards both like genre and, you know, and politics, and not actually like leaving that out of the music or skirting that away from the music. And then the way that they're taking on like, you know, systemic thinking as well. But those are some of the things I'm excited about in it.
Yeah. I mean, and last thing I want to say is that I feel so lucky that I feel lucky for all of us that we all got to make music at a time. We all know what it's like to make music before social media was popping, and we were just able to make music and be and just be pure with it, you know, instead of like thinking like everything in terms of how to post it about it, you know, like creating with that in mind, you know, like I think about that. I was thinking about it the other day. I was like, man, like people like us, like we really got to experience, you know, and then that's the thing I want to leave for people that's like, you know, younger than us. Is like, don't let social media dictate like every experience that you do, you know, like. But again, like this might be whack advice because we're going into the metaverse. You know what I mean? Like,
we're there now.
We just need to be better at social media. You know? But
yeah. I mean, you know, when you was sharing about that, Bohan, I was thinking about how I think there's a lot of things that happen in person that can be replicated online. I think that one of the things that hits way harder in person is kindness, you know, because I think the funny thing is, right, like if somebody, you know, and we see this as content creators, you know, you put something out, you get 100 comments. One of the comments is somebody being, you know, a troll, and everything else is positive. And that one troll still cuts. You know, even those of us who've been doing it a long time, like it's never pleasant. But I think the flip side of that is like you could be having a really shitty day, and if one person is nice to you in person, you know what I'm saying? They hold the subway door for you. They, you know, give you an extra dumpling in your order, whatever it is. And it's almost the flip side. It's like one real act of kindness could clear up a whole day versus online, one piece of, you know, feces can poison the whole well. And so I think like, that's why it's so, I agree with what you're saying though. It's like, we got to know how to navigate in both spaces, but we also got to know what hits where. You know what I'm saying? Like, we got to know that.
And I think it's important that one of the things that you said, which is now to realize, is that how come in 100 comments, 99 can be positive, one is negative, and that one negative one can affect us harder than the positive ones. Because those positive comments in that space doesn't feel that real. You know what I mean? It feels like it's a bunch of people like went scroll by, click the fire emoji, whatever, blah, blah. But like you said, why does that one interaction in the real life? Because that person probably had 99 shitty interactions online, you know, and then that one interaction in real life, you know, make them realize, oh, this is more powerful than that. Let me get off the internet. Maybe I can make powerful changes like this too. You know, so I saw this new video. It's like the drive-by kindness. It's like a couple of white girls, I think, driving by people and pulling up to random people and being like, I hope you have a great day today. You know, it's like saying all this drive-by kindness stuff. And like, you know, like at first I was looking at them like, this is corny, man. People out here making anything for content. But then you see the people being filmed and their faces, like they're like, you're like, you know, someone will be like, hey, you look great. You realize, oh, some of these people haven't been told by someone they don't know, like probably ever. You know, like, you know, they're probably waiting for someone to pull up and be like, fuck you, you piece of shit, drive off, you know, like you see on their faces like, oh, thank you, like, you know, like I hope you have a good day too, man, you know, it's like,
yeah. Oh, all right. Well, here we had one last message from our commercial sponsor before we go.
Hey
kids, feel like
let's go.
Hey,
dive in.
And no future? Try Viral, a brand new adventure from MC Tingbudong. Explore 6 new musical worlds that take you on adventures from China through Black America at a time of global pandemic and protest. Travel through time and space and discover hidden connections between cultures. Dive into all new virtual reality and mobile game experiences as you fight the power and fight for a future. Skateboard through Chinatown, wander through the internet, and lead demonstrations in real life, all from the comfort of your own home. Play the new game that's going viral, but be careful, results may be contagious. Viral game and VR headsets sold separately. Prolonged gameplay may result in fever dreams, rapping in Chinese, scientific thinking, enjoying the movement, overthrow capitalism, and fight for a natural communist evolution.
Let's go.
All right.
Yeah. So, I love how you say send Bitcoin or Ethereum, and then you give like a physical address. That's funny as fuck.
All right, let's give it up. Let's give it up for Bohan Phoenix and Jason Chu. Yes.
Jamel, baby.
Boom, boom, boom.
And Jamel, MC Tingbudong.
You already know.
Yes,
what is up?
Gummer.
All right, but yes, indeed. No, really, thanks you guys for tapping in and really bringing, you know, and this entire conversation, super important to talk about these issues of past, present, and future of the relationship between technology. How are we preserving our humanity and all of this madness, right? Can you let us know or let folks know just where to find you? Just last of all, where to find you, where to connect with you. I'm sure people already know already if they ain't been Googling, if they aren't already tapped in, but just so that they know with a final word.
Word, I'm Bohan Phoenix. That's pretty much everywhere. You can find me on, you know, all the social medias and streaming platforms.
Yeah, for me, it's very simple. Just at Jason Chu, CHU music everywhere. JasonChuMusic.com, and can find me on Spotify and any streaming platform. Just search for Jason Chu. Yeah, Jamel, thanks so much for having us, man. You know,
Yeah.
you've been a friend, colleague, comrade, brother. Always proud to see your work.
Yeah. Great to see you out here, man.
Nah, man, appreciate it. You guys have both been a a real inspiration, especially around this music and getting all this art out. So, peace.
All right, dog. Have a good night. Peace.
I believe not analysis, but listening. Music is to be much. What did I say? Oh, what did I say? Or what did Billy Straight once say? One of us said this. Music is better enjoyed than analyzed. Or was it discussed?
See back on my shit again. Profile pick on a wanted list. 2020, what a year it's been. Time for revolution, check your DM. Bug maggot, white supremacist. When was America great again? In the streets chatting BLM, Capitol Hill full of fascists. Let me redirect, don't mean no disrespect. We started something last summer, not just on the internet. Don't know the future yet. Crystal ball your comments. But we got the science, strategy, and the vision to win. What's they called? Predators pushing that medicine, putting my people in coffins. Why do y'all scroll through conspiracy posts like we got the problem? QAnon come through, fake book news, got a real confused. Little pump Ice Cube, don't say you don't know what you should do. You know the vibes of the vibes, now yo. Cause I know that you know we ain't been here before. Ain't got no time to waste, ain't got no place to go. Don't throw in the towel, ain't no spectator sport. Let the bodies hit the floor, let the 我们讲同样的感觉，在这个疯狂的世界，你们都科学在手里，是为了好交的连接。快过了又一年，我们不要出门，睡觉与朋友没看见，失眠的看新闻。昨天环境乱杀了，今天病毒传下了，明天又发洗手活动，你到底要干什么？这是不是我们世界黑人民是不也是命？如果我们不来解决，未来有更厉害问题。That you know we ain't been here before, ain't got no time to waste, ain't got nowhere to go. Say you don't know but you know. 你在说不知道，虽然你也知道，不想看注意到，他们说这个世界也该不一样。别说了。Say you don't know but you know. I think you know we ain't been here before, ain't got no time, ain't got no place to go. Say you don't know but you know. 你在说不知道，虽然你也知道，不想看注意到，他们说这个世界也该不一样。Feeling like I'm highly contagious from a case of losing my patience. One that I ask is 3 pages. Hear the cries of the children in cages. 怎么会那么都这样？提起中医能哭什么？从黑人通过大西洋，美国在这不伟大，有100多个理由拿不到我们自由。太多人想的太多，说话不动手。欢迎你来 this Afro Sino futuristic movement. Ting and Bobby, chairman of the Ratchet Revolution. If you think just for a second, 如你想一秒 the world could be a scary place. 给你吓一跳 We need a whole new world. 我们真需要一个新的声音 a whole new future sound. Oh, cause I know that you know we ain't been here before. Ain't got no time to waste. Ain't got no way to go. Say you don't know what you know. And if you don't know, 如果你还没想得到 Take a look around, looks like our house is burning down. 我们的房子已经快燃烧，但是利比亚的火焰都闻不到。你在说不知道，虽然你也知道，不想看注意到，他们说这个世界也该不一样。别说。Nah, I need you, that's what. The future is here, no doubt. Time for a whole new sound. Found out the errors we made can be part of our plan to get us all out. 为了面对这个制度，每天给我们的小套，心里一直悲伤，头上一直微笑。别说你不知道，哦，革命我们真需要。交了那么多的新朋友，怎么那么无聊？
This is a song born in the struggle of the brave Chinese people. It begins, Qi Lai, arise, you who refuse to be bond slaves, and ends, Chen Jing, march on. Qi Lai，不许往所努力的人们，把我们的血肉组成我们新的长城。
This is a song named Qi Lai, sung originally by Paul Robeson. This song was released around 1930, 1932. This is done in support of the Chinese Workers' Party. But right now you hear the words of Paul Robeson, a black man, around the turn of the 20th century, singing this in Mandarin.
Arise, you who refuse to be bond slaves. Let's stand up and fight for liberty.
This song really, for me, represents these connections between Black America and China and how deep they actually go. And the fact that it's actually rooted in a history of transforming the world. A radical, revolutionary history, and one that we're tied to today.
All of us with one heart, with the torch of freedom, march on, with the torch of freedom.
Don't let the
march on and on. 起来，不用所努力的人们，把我们的血肉组成我们新的长城。中华民族到了最危险的时候，每个人被迫着发出最好的号声。起来，起来，起来！我们往着
Qi Lai means to rise up.
冒着地上的炮火前进，冒着地上的炮火前进。
What's up, buddy? You want to rise up?
是一直在纽约呢，是吗？还是在华盛顿啊？我也一直想再去美国。如果再去的话，
I'd like to thank everybody for coming out.
我也可以去找你。
Get down, get down, get down, get down, get down. Everybody rise up. And get your hands up if you had enough. Don't let the haters worry us. They tried to bury us on our knees, low key. They forgot that we are seeds. Qi Lai. Zao, 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 zao. Qi Lai. 为了人类，为了未来，未来成为实现，实现需要改变。黑人、黄人、白人，一起都有责任。哎哎哎 ，yo。 Jam, no fantastic. Showing up, no decoys. In the lab, going spastic. Mandarin on the recording. International travel. No need for the pre-boarding. Internationalist rapper. Proud boys are Bruce Lee, William. 早起来，弄起来，一起来，现代。我们只有一个地球，没有一个另外。无论你还上学，觉得自己厉害，全程都有上班，但却没有明白。This shit we face is the game of death. Don't matter if you black, white, or yellow. Need everyone to fight back. No second row spectator sporting. 给你说的，咱们学姐已经消火了，所以我的国际关系比一飞机还多了，需要全部世界发西侧。拜托了，你还要等了什么色 ？What you waiting for? Get down. Get down, get down, get down. Everybody rise up. All right, Janine, I see you in the chat. 干嘛姐妹儿？要燥起来。Yo, keep. They forgot that we are seeds. 起来。燥起来。为了人类，为了未来，未来成为实现，实现需要改变。黑人、黄人、白人，一起都有责任。谢谢你了，谢谢你来，我的淑女学姐。 MC Tingbudong 的虚拟世界，我现在是在 NYXX 纽约城200年之后，200 years in the future, New York City, in a revolutionary timeline. I'd like to share a couple more songs with you guys from this journey. You can go to tingbudong.nyc to dig into and explore viral world of MC Tingbudong.
是在纽约呢，是吗？还是在
Sometimes I lie awake at night, like what's my purpose and what's my life gonna be about? Is rapping even worth it? Got visions of us in the millions, I see our potential, but they working overtime trying to convince you to give up on your ambition. This that ambition, getting rid of the system, yeah, that's the damn mission. We live in rare times, can't just go on living. But business as usual, stop playing with me, playing with me, playing with me. 行，一直说这个字，因为我有雄心，有1000万个我们会站在一起，跟你在一块儿，我真的他妈很荣幸。Yes， 每天他妈一样，Yeah，感觉为了追忆这个事情，我们只能躺枪。睡觉也睡不好了，心里一直不舒服。如果没有说唱，没办法弄好我的态度。我会觉得别人都不在乎，不管我们经过稀有的时代的习惯，需要雄心来做。就是为什么他们把你的雄心打破 ？The return of Papi habla Latino, MC Tingbudong, but you hear me don't call Harlem home, but known all over the globe. Jam no Bruce Lee boy, got the glow. Chef no peanut and Chan Clotters cooking's out fun. Serving you Black Panther party breakfast. Wish I could cut hours into seconds, cause the flames are getting higher. Was a hot girl summer, California on fire. Breathe the fumes in. If your ambition just by true, yo, what you doing? 如果你追的是只会一点平衡，有一个欲望不忘，把雄心给他们的下一次，他们做回前，不要等他们就跟你的未来说再见。资本主义失败了，控制全世界，把我们的未来吓坏了。但是这个地球却从我们的孙子都借来了。Ambition, this that ambition. Getting rid of the system, yeah, that's the damn mission. We live in rare times, don't just go on living. But business as usual, stop playing with me. 行，一直说这个字，因为我有雄心，有1000万个我们会站在一起，跟你在一块儿，我真的他妈很荣幸。Yes， 行，跟你在一块儿，我真的他妈很荣幸。好嘞，我真的太荣幸，真的跟你在一块儿，我真的他妈很荣幸。I'm so damn honored to be right here with you. Right? I'd like to give a shout out to all of the guests that came by today for our viral chat on China and Black America and the cultural connections between them. For Bohan Phoenix for coming through and bringing some real authenticity and questioning around what it means to be an artist in this age of pandemic and protests. Jason Chu for coming through as always, bringing a real perspective on Asian American identity and history and a real, eye towards artistry and how we build the future. And of course, Kayla and Eddie to talk through the process of making Wishing You Were Here and their own backgrounds as children of the world, internationalists who are creating a whole new future as well. Huge shout outs to Cyber Ramirez and Bad Buddy who made a cameo. And gotta give it up, of course, to the team at GGE, and in particular, Lauren and Winton for pulling the show together today. I got one more joint before I rock. And I want to encourage everybody to go to tingbudong.nyc to explore the story of viral，不要出门，真的是一个故事，真的是一个对话。一方面是黑美国，两方面是中国，但是这个故事是在未来都过成了。You know, this is the 都过时了。This is a story that takes place between China and Black America, but that's set in the future. 是一种革命者的一种未来 a revolutionary future, right? And I implore you to go take a look at it. You've seen some of the music videos from it already. I'm about to share this final track from it, or share one final track from it. I'll leave it to you to listen to it. This one's called Say You Don't Know. And it is produced by Vorby.
I believe not analysis, but listening. Music is to be as much. What did I say? Oh, what did I say? Or what did Billy Strayhorn say? One of us said this. Music is better enjoyed than analyzed. Or was it discussed?
Yeah. Ting back on my shit again. Profile pic on a wanted list. 2020, what a year it's been. Time for revolution. Check your DM. Fuck MAGA, white supremacists. When was America great again? In the streets chanting BLM, Capitol Hill full of fascists. Let me redirect. Don't mean no disrespect. Started something last summer, not just on the internet. Don't know the future yet. Crystal ball your comments. But we got the science, strategy, and the vision to win. We still go pedalers pushing that medicine, putting my people in coffins. Why do we scroll through conspiracy posts like we got the problem? QAnon, Kung Fu, Facebook news got the world confused. Little pump ice cream, don't say you don't know what you should do. Need the vibes, know yo. Cause I know that you know we ain't been here before. Ain't got no time, no waste. Ain't got no place to go. Don't throw in the towel. Ain't no spectator sport. Let the bodies hit the floor. Let the 我们叫同样的感觉，在这个疯狂的世界，那么多克制在手里，受不了好交的连接。快过了又一年，我们不要出门，睡觉有朋友没看见，失眠的看新闻。昨天环境燃烧了，今天病毒传销了，明天又发洗手活动，你到底要干什么？这是不是我们世界黑人民是不也是民？如果我们不来解决黑人民的问题？ That you know we ain't been here before, ain't got no time to waste, ain't got nowhere to go. Say you don't know what you know. 你在说不知道，虽然你也知道，不想看注意到，他们说这个世界也改不了。Say you don't know what you know. I think you know we ain't been here before, ain't got no time, ain't got no place to go. Say you don't know what you know. 你在说不知道，虽然你也知道，不想看注意到，他们说这个世界也改不了。Feeling like I'm highly contagious from a case of losing my patience. Only asking history pages, hear the cries of the children in cages. 怎么会那么都这样？体积中印的哭声嘛，从黑人通过大西洋，美国再次不伟大，有一块多和理由，拿不到我们自由，长头转的太多，说话不动手。欢迎你来 this Afro-Sino-futuristic movement. Ting and Vorby, chairman of the Ratchet Revolution. If you think just for a second, 如你想一秒 the world can be a scary place. 给你想一跳 the world is a new world. 我们正需要一个新的声音 a whole new future sound. Oh, cause I know that you know we ain't been here before. Ain't got no time to waste. Ain't got no place to go. Say you don't know what you know. And if you don't know, 如果你还没想得到 take a look around, looks like a house is burning down. 我们的房子已经快燃烧，但是利比亚的火焰都闻不到。你在说不知道，虽然你也知道，不想看注意到，他们说这个世界也改不了。那你一直在说 the future is here, no doubt. Time for a whole new sound. Found out the errors we made are part of a plan to get us all out. 为了面对这个制度，每天给我们的小套，心里一直悲伤，头上一直微笑。别说你不知道，哦，革命我们真需要。学了那么多的新朋友，怎么那么无聊？ 交了那么多的新朋友，我们怎么那么无聊？ With all these friends we just got, how are we still so lonely? 一种革命我们真需要。We really need a revolution. Thank you all so much. 真谢谢你了，特别谢谢你了，非常感谢你了。过来我的虚拟世界，你可以去听不懂的 NYC， 为了出你自己的描现。You can go to tingbudong.nyc to go on your own adventure through the virtual world of MC Tingbudong and dig more into these stories, explore the folders. You can play games, explore virtual reality environment, listen to the music and catch the videos that you just saw, and explore the futuristic world of MC Tingbudong. 好的，那下次见吧。
Tired of quarantine? Try viral new adventure from MC 听不懂。简易腻了吗？尝试 viral 一个全新的虚拟现实冒险，从 MC 听不懂。